I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Tribute brings you this exclusive behind-the-scenes special on the making of The Hobbit. We'll be talking with Peter Jackson and the film stars to find out all about their journey back to Middle-earth.
It's amazing to be back here again. This is Bag End, exactly as it was in The Lord of the Rings. And it's actually built in our B stage here in Wellington, which is exactly the same stage as it was built 12 years ago. We've been shooting for a few days now, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you a little look at the lead up to filming and some of the pre-production that led up to the first day of our shoot.
The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey is one of the most anticipated films for the holiday season. But let's face it, there'd be no Hobbit without the success of The Lord of the Rings. It all began in 2001, when director Peter Jackson set out to make one of the most successful trilogies in motion picture history.
Legend tells of a ring created by an ancient evil that gave its wearer the power to enslave the world. Believed lost for centuries, it has now been found. Is it secret? Is it safe?
Based on the best-selling novels by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings introduced us to an innocent hobbit of the Shire named Frodo, played by Elijah Wood, whose destiny it is to destroy an ancient ring thought lost for centuries. When Gandalf discovers the ring is in fact the One Ring of the Dark Lord Sauron, Frodo must make an epic quest in order to destroy it.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
However, he does not go alone. He's joined by Gandalf, Legolas the Elf, Gimli the Dwarf, Aragorn, Boromir, and his 3 hobbit friends, Merry, Pippin, and Samwise. Through mountains, snow, darkness, forests, rivers, and plains, facing evil and danger at every corner, the Fellowship of the Ring must go. Their quest to destroy the One Ring is the only hope for the end of the Dark Lord's reign. Like the book, the movie was an instant success and brought stars Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Orlando Bloom, Viggo Mortensen, and many others into the forefront. Next came The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. On this journey, while Frodo and his trusty friend and cohort Sam edge closer to Mordor with the help of the shifty Golem, the divided fellowship makes a stand against Sauron's new ally, Saruman, and his hordes of Isengard.
The dominion of evil grows even stronger.
The thieves! They stole my precious, and we once it.
Played expertly by Andy Serkis in a motion capture suit, the actor spent countless hours getting the movements and voice of Gollum just right, something he will have perfected by the time he resurrects the character for The Hobbit.
Come, Master. Come to Smaug. The precious will be ours.
He means to murder us!
Never!
I'm not sending him away.
Come, Smaug.
The third and final installment of the Lord of the Rings trilogy came in 2003 with The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, where Aragorn leads the world of men against Sauron's army to draw the Dark Lord's gaze from Frodo and Sam, who are on the doorstep of Mount Doom with the One Ring.
The enemy will never let Aragorn come to the throne of Gondor.
It is time. Give him the sword of the king.
Become who you were born to be.
I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me.
Whatever happens, stay with me.
This day, we fight!
We cannot achieve victory through strength of arms.
Not for ourselves, but we can give Frodo a chance.
No one could have predicted the immense popularity of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially not its director, Peter Jackson. Ever since the last movie, The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King premiered in 2003, Middle-earth fans were already wanting more. And now, a decade later, Peter Jackson has delivered with The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, where a curious hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, journeys to the Lonely Mountain with a vigorous group of dwarves to reclaim a stolen treasure.
The dwarves are determined to reclaim their homeland. You'll have a tale or two to tell when you come back.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No. And if you do, you will not be the same.
The world premiere of Peter Jackson's The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey took place on November 27th in Wellington, New Zealand, where an estimated 100,000 fans turned out along the 1,600-foot red carpet to get a glimpse of the film's stars. The event took place 9 years after the red carpet was rolled out to host the premiere of The Fellowship of the Ring on the same streets.
We were shooting for 18 months, huge logistics all around New Zealand, but fortunately we had an incredible crew, great support behind us. But shooting the movie is always the hardest part.
This wasn't really part of my world as a kid, so I had to come to it quite freshly as a grown-up. And I can totally see why it is so beloved by people, you know, because it is by me now.
Well, the whole thing, I mean, it's called An Unexpected Journey, but I think for all of us it was extremely unexpected. And I think the film for the fans will be unexpected as well.
What can I say? Well, precious, you can say it's nice to be back, isn't it? Yes!
So, this is The Hobbit.
Here, Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? I'm going on an adventure!
Did you ever think that you'd be seeing yourself back in Middle-earth?
No, I thought The Lord of the Rings, 3 movies back to back was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and hey, I was wrong. what can I say? But it was great returning to Middle-earth, and I think that for me, the key to it was the fact that The Hobbit is written for younger people. I mean, it was written really by Tolkien for his children back in 1937. Not having that sort of darkness and that apocalyptic end of the world feel that the Lord of the Rings had, the Hobbit, I think, had a freshness to it which I really enjoyed.
Peter was adamant when they finished Lord of the Rings that he wasn't going to touch the Hobbit. He tackled the difficult book, the dangerous book, the complicated story, the long story, and that was it as far as he was concerned. And but looking back, I remember that in the last few weeks of shooting, he was taking photographs with a 3D still camera. It's all come to fruition now, isn't it?
You asked me to find the 14th member of this company, and I have chosen Mr. Baggins.
Me? No.
Hobbits can pass unseen by most if they choose, which gives us a distinct advantage.
We will seize this chance to take back Erebor!
Because of the strength of The Lord of the Rings and the popularity, do you come into this with a little bit of pressure? Is it a little daunting for you when you started?
It wasn't daunting because of that. It was daunting because you knew it was going to be the time, the duration it was going to be, and just the distance away from home and for how long it was going to be. That was daunting. But the actual responsibility of playing Bilbo, I mean, obviously I took very seriously, but I take everything seriously. I take everything that I take seriously. So, no, I mean, they make it down there so that it doesn't feel like you're entering a death row or something. It's like it should be fun, and it should be something that you play, and that's how you're going to do your best work.
I've always been amused and fascinated by Martin's work, and it was great to see him inhabit Bilbo and bring a little bit of Martin into Bilbo Baggins as well, because it comes to life, and he really. There's so much humour. I love that scene in the Troll Shore, where he's negotiating with them about the cooking of a dwarf, and I watch it and belly laugh at his comic timing. I think he's an absolute genius, and I could never get close to anything like what he does, but I'm happy to sit there and enjoy his work. I think he's amazing.
What are you saying? My sword hasn't seen battle?
I'm not actually sure it is a sword. More of a letter opener, really.
What was it like putting on that outfit again, and the beard and the hat, everything?
Well, it was very easy and very enjoyable, and by the time Rick Finlater, my makeup artist, had stuck my nose on and the wig and the beard and the moustache, and done a few blotches and then the pointy hat, and there we are. Gandalf was back with us. It didn't take any effort at all, really.
You know, I kind of liked watching Gandalf in this film. He looked a little bit more at ease. He was having a little bit more fun. You know, he smokes, he drinks. Hey, he's a human being, kind of. He's a wizard.
I know,
but,
that's why we like him, or I prefer him to Gandalf the White, yeah.
Was it fun playing him in this vein?
Yes, it was. I mean, I drew the line one day when Peter Jackson said, I think we should see Gandalf a little bit tipsy, having had too much to drink. I said, oh, steady on. Gandalf would go, we don't quite know what he's smoking, what weed that actually is, but no, let's keep off the drink. We don't want him out of control. His responsibility is to look after Middle-earth. We can't have him tipsy. Well, Peter had thought it'd be rather fun, and I said, well, you let the dwarves have the fun.
Bilbo, allow me to introduce Fili, Kili, Oin, Loin, Darlin, Balin, Biffa, Bofa, Bomba, Nori, Ori, and the leader of our company, Thorin Oakenshield.
The excitement building up to an audition where you think, I've got to get the job, I've got to go in there and get the job, and you do all of this work and you get excited about the casting. And then the phone rings and they offer it to you, and you think, oh, I've now got to come and play this. That's the scary bit, is, you know, you've got to own the responsibility of everyone who's ever read this book and has Thorin in their head. You've got to take on that mantle and not disappoint them.
I understand that you were just a bit wary of working with all these actors that were going to play the dwarves. Yeah, taking on 13 dwarves, that's a big... But you know what? They ended up being so fantastic. I mean, that was pretty well my favorite part of this movie, is watching them and each one and how different they were. I'm sure that was the same for you.
Yeah, if you were writing The Hobbit as an original script, you'd limit your dwarves to 3 or 4, probably. I mean, you'd have a bit of sensible dwarf culling would go on it, and but we couldn't do that because this book is so iconic, and those 13 dwarves are just part of Tolkien's mythology. So, but you know, that was a problem. I mean, I was worried about it, because what do you do with all these dwarves? I mean, there's a gaggle of them. But that, in a way, became the blessing, because giving them individual personalities and characters, and you know, and the fact that Bilbo, the comedy that you get from Bilbo, Martin Freeman, finding himself in the middle of this group and having to manage, and you know, and deal with the social interaction between them. I mean, there's a lot of comedy to be had. So we sort of tried to turn it into a plus.
Did you have a favorite dwarf?
That would be like choosing between your children. You just can't do it. They were lovely. They were really, really lovely. And all for different reasons. They've all got distinct characteristics, and as actors and as characters. And we all shared the love around. You know, it was like, the good thing about being that many is if you want to hang out there, then you can, and then you want to hang out with them. You know, it wasn't claustrophobic. It wasn't just like there were 4 of you and you drove each other mad. There was a huge gang, so you can rotate. It was good.
We were together at the very beginning, before any of the other cast arrived, and we did a dwarf boot camp together. So we trained together. It was like preparing for a military operation, and all sorts of ages and skills amongst the dwarves as well. So the camaraderie came by, you know, looking after the slightly older members and working out what our hierarchy was. You know, we rode together, archery, sword fighting, wrestling, in the gym together, drinking in the pub together, you know.
Yeah, things that dwarves do.
Cooking around at each other's houses, you know, things that dwarves do, lots of eating and drinking, yeah.
Well, that could have been worse.
I understand that the first day on set for you was working opposite the amazing Andy Serkis, the Gollum scene. Tell me a little bit, take me back to that, because I can't even imagine what that might have been like for you. Just starting with that scene.
Well, it was wonderful. I think that was the best scene to start on for me, because it helps, it teaches you how to play Bilbo, you know, in extremis. Because those life and death situations are where you really find out who your character is a lot of the time, you know. In a more challenging and kind of invigorating way than find out who he is, you know, when he's at home reading a paper. You know, I mean, you can do that, but it's not as plunging in at the deep end as when someone's coming towards you with a rock in their hand and they're going to eat you. You know, then you really find out a lot about who you're playing.
Was it hard to get back into the Gollum mode?
It's the strangest thing about it was that when we did the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I couldn't have been prepared for how Gollum was absorbed into public consciousness so much, and how many people would come up to him on a regular basis and ask me to do Gollum, or do their impersonations. And I've seen so many YouTube clips of Gollum being Sweded, and so owning him again, possessing him, kind of because of course as an actor you've just got to rein it right in and kind of feel it from the inside, and I almost felt like I was doing an impersonation myself for the first day, but we pretty soon got back into it.
I've always thought Andy is a really good actor anyway, outside of Gollum. He's certainly in Britain he's very highly regarded by other actors anyway, but his physicality in that role and his whole immersion in that role, I don't mean character or method. It's not like I'd have to call him Gollum at lunch. But I just mean, but for the time he's doing that, it's so total. It's a real lesson in commitment,
Gollum's like a spring chicken in this. He's 60 years younger, right?
He's so sexy now. It's really nice to actually play the heartthrob for a change.
Why don't we have a game of riddles?
And if it loses, what then? Well, if it loses precious, then we eat it. If Baggins loses, we eat it whole.
Fair enough. Lord of the Rings kind of happened at a time of huge kind of world change actually, and I think again we're going through seismic shifts in the way that the world, the belief systems in the world, and I think we turn to stories like this, which are very they're archetypal stories, they're big mythic kind of journeys, and somehow, although they're in a form of escapism, they actually say so much about the world that we live in.
Can you give us a little hint of what we can expect from the next films?
A big, angry dragon.